Hello, and welcome to episode 7 of the She.Must.Knit podcast. My name is Erin, and thank you so much for spending some of your time with me today. How have you guys been? I hope you had a great week. I had a pretty good week. As you may remember, in April I was supposed to be doing a trunk show at the Knitting Basket in Rosemont. And because of a freak ice storm, that show got kiboshed and had to be postponed. Well, it's going to be this weekend, Mother's Day weekend, at the Knitting Basket, and so I've been busy this week trying to get everything ready, dyeing yarn and sewing bags, so that I'll have a stock for the trunk show. But even with all that preparation, I have had some pretty good knitting time this week. I made some really good progress on 2 of my projects. I finished something, and I'm excited to cast something on. So let's get started. I'm going to have a quick sip of my tea. What am I drinking today? This is candied almond from Seven Sisters Tea. And it is really, really, really nice. If you remember last week, I was talking about how I had ordered a whole bunch of samples from Citizen Tea. I went through those so fast, and so I had to make another tea order. And I decided to go back to an old favorite, Seven Sisters Tea. They have a lot of their flavors at 50-gram sizes, at almost the same price as sample sizes, so I just decided to stock up with them. So I have a bunch of new teas, and this one is really, really tasty. So what are we going to start with? I'm going to start with a finished object. If you remember last week, I showed you clue 1 of the mystery knit along that I'm doing. It's a toy mystery knit along put together by Barbara Prime, who goes under Fuzzy Mitten Designs. And at that point, I was debating, I was asking you whether you thought it was creepy or cute, because basically it looked like a little bald alien baby. Well, I finished clue 1 and I finished clue 2. And clue 2, the first part of clue 2 was a little outfit for the toy, and as soon as I finished that little piece of clothing, it went right into the cute category. This is just something I love about toy making. It's a little romper, and when I started knitting it, even though I knew that it said it was a romper, I was knitting away and I finished and it was on my needles, and it just looked like a blob. And I was thinking, how is this going to be a piece of clothing for this thing? And then with the magic of knitting, a few stitches later, and boom, she had a little outfit. So this is the finished companion toy. So if you remember, the mystery knit along includes a companion toy, and then there's going to be a main toy. So clue 1 and clue 2 are for the companion toy, and this is what it is. It's a little fairy, and you can see her little romper. Isn't that cute? There's the little leg holes, and then she's got like a little halter back there, and then her little wings. Now, I messed up on the wings. You'll probably be able to see it. I can see, but I don't really care enough to change. But one of her wings points up, and one of her wings points down. So because they're done in garter stitch, they look very similar. And I sewed one on backwards, but oh well, it's fine. And then I did her little hair. In the pattern, she gives you the instructions to do like a satin stitch on the back of the head, where you're just basically picking up some stitches down here and bringing your yarn up and then going back and down, up and down, up and down. And then I added some little pigtails, and to do that, I basically made 2 tassels and then just sewed them to her head. And that's another thing that I love about toy knitting, because when you're doing garments or other types of knitting, when you have those ends, you have to hide them in such a way that they're not going to take away from the finished product. And with toy knitting, you can just stick those ends in anywhere, and so I just pop them into her head somewhere and then snip them, and she's done. So she's got her piggy tail, she's got her little outfit, and then I gave her some little bitty eyelashes and a little bitty mouth. And I actually wasn't planning on making a face for her, but I've been checking out the thread. I know I said I wouldn't, and we can just forget that. I'm going to be checking the thread, because one of the things I love about when you do a mystery knit along and you follow along with other people's progress is that sometimes people do things with their project that you didn't think of, and that it inspires you to to add something to your project. And so there was another knitter who on her little fairy used thread to do some little accents. I think she even did some little eyebrows, and she did eyelashes, and she did a really cute little mouth. And I just loved it so much, I thought I'm going to do some little eyelashes too. So I did some little eyelashes with the thread. I tried to do a mouth, but I just wasn't happy with it. And it's funny because you'll actually see, I think you can see there's like a little pink dot there. That's from me trying to do a mouth, deciding I didn't like the mouth, snipping off the mouth, and then there was just this little piece that I couldn't get. And I decided that it just gives enough of an indication of a mouth that I really like how it looks. So I left it. And so that's clue 1 and clue 2, the companion toy. And we've been trying to figure out what this might be a companion to. The first clue for the main toy came out this week. I haven't had a chance to look at it. Hopefully I'll have it done for you next week. But I was asking you what you think a fairy would be a companion to, and in the comments last week, some people were guessing Peter Pan. You know, maybe that's the storyline she's going with. I don't know. But we'll just have to see as the clues come out over the next couple of weeks. So this is my finished toy, and I think she is adorable. I'm very happy with how she turned out. I might get, here, I need your opinion. I'm thinking of maybe adding some little bangs, but I'm not sure about that. So let me know what you think. Should I add little bangs, or should I just add some more hair? I feel like she's a little bare up here, so should I just add some more strands of hair, or should I try and give her little bangs? Not sure how I do that, but if I don't like it, I can just snip it out, right? Right. So, finished object. Now, next, we are going to go into 2 projects that I've been working on, and I actually got a fair bit of progress on. I'm really, really pleased with how much I've been able to put into these 2 projects. The first one I'm going to show you is the Passerine hat, and I showed the start of this last week. I had just finished working on the brim. I was going to do a folded brim. When the pattern originally called for a ribbed brim, I decided to do a folded brim. And I was actually thinking about doing a video to show in more detail about how I do this, and then someone commented that they would like to see that. So I made a little video and I've put it up, and I'll put a link below if you're interested in seeing how I do a folded brim on the hat. So this is my progress on my Passerine hat, and I am so pleased with it so far. I finished the color work chart. So there you can see I finished the folded brim. There's the fold line there. It ends up being a really, really nice finished edge, and the contrast color, just like the pattern asked for. And then I have the chart, and I'm a couple of rows above the chart, so I'm expecting to start the decreases very soon. I might be able to finish this next week, because after the decreases there really isn't much to go. So yes, so there's my chart, there's my birds, and I'm pretty pleased with my color work. We were talking last week. I wasn't sure if I was going to do the floats or not, if I was going to catch the floats or not, and I did decide to catch the floats, and I'll just show you my floats there. There we go. They're not too bad. They're a little loose in some places, but that's okay. And I decided just to catch them in your standard way. I did look up on YouTube, I looked up all kinds of videos for catching your floats, just to see if there was something that I hadn't tried before that I wanted to give a go, but I didn't have the brain space to totally just learn something new right now. I just wanted to work on this project and get it going. And there was actually someone in my Blinger String group who posted, there was a page in Ravelry with a video tutorial, and I found a YouTube tutorial as well on how to do, I think it's called a ladder back Jacquard, or a ladder back, it's something like that, where you catch your floats on the back of your work, but the result is you don't get any little blips of your contrast color showing through your work. And with the standard method of catching floats, sometimes that can happen. And I looked at all those videos and I read the tutorial, and like I said, I just did not have the mental space to learn something completely new, and I decided just to go with my standard, you know, where you kind of cross your strands to catch them. And actually, when I had finished, there were some areas of between the colors, or between the charts, that I could see the green color, I could see it popping through the blue, but what I found is when I looked really close at those areas, that the reason that the green was showing was because the blue stitches weren't completely even, like some of the strands were tighter than the others. And all I did was I took a small darning needle and I went into the V's of those knit stitches, and the ones that were a little tighter than the other ones, I just kind of used the darning needle to kind of pull those out and even all the stitches around it. And I found that totally helped with any areas where the green was kind of peeking through. That totally helped. And there really isn't a lot of areas where that shows now. So I'm pretty happy with the color work. Overall, so far, I'm pretty happy with this project. I think if I wasn't trying to use mostly stash this year, I might have used different yarns for this project. I like the yarns individually. So the blue I'm using is a Knit Pick Stroll in Sapphire Heather, and the green that I'm using is a mini that I had of Tosh Merino Light. And I do like these yarns individually. I'm not sure if I like them together. I think doing the whole hat in Tosh Merino Light would have actually been really, really pretty. I'm not generally a fan of single ply yarns, but I think for something like a hat where it's not going to get a whole lot of wear, the Tosh Merino Light would actually be really, really nice. And then the single ply just gives a different dimension to the stitches. So I think that would have been really nice. But I'm trying to use what I had, and this is what I found in my stash. And overall, I like the color combination. I think the green pops really nicely off the blue, and this blue tends to suit me because of it goes with my eyes. So yeah, so overall I'm pretty happy with this, and hopefully next week I'll be able to finish off the top and model this for you. Isn't that exciting? Yeah, right. Okay, so that's this project. And then I have another project that you haven't seen in a couple of weeks because I've been working away at it. Most of it was stockinette, so I wasn't going to bore you with that. But I've started on the next part that's a little more interesting. So I have for you progress on my little sock arm sweater. And when I first showed this to you, I only had a couple of inches done, and I was explaining how I was trying to make this for my friend's little girl whose birthday is in June. And so I wanted to start it now, and so that I get it done well in advance and be able to put a nice little package together for her. And so I have finished the body, and I'm starting on the arms. Now I'm just going to show the body first, but I'll just tuck the arm back there. So I finished the body, and you might notice how nice and smooth it looks. We have nice weather finally, and one of the things I love about the nice weather is that you can put something out to block and it'll be dry in like 30 minutes. So I decided, once I had finished the body, to block it before I picked up the stitches of the arms so that the armhole was nice and even and the size it was going to be. The other modifications I did on this was, I mentioned when I first showed this how I was planning on putting a back placket into this size. The pattern is written for the back placket to be included for size 18 months and smaller, and I was planning on doing a size 4. I'll get to that in a minute, but I knew I wanted to include the back placket just so that there was extra room. You can see how it kind of gives extra room there for the head, because this pattern is written to be, the neckline is more of a higher crew neck, and I wanted to make sure that it was going to fit over my little girl, or my friend's little girl's head. So I added the back placket, and that wasn't too complicated. All I did was look at the instructions for the smaller sizes and then look at the instructions for the size I was doing, and you basically just take the instructions for that back part when you're starting to do the armhole shaping and the top neck shaping, and you kind of split that in half and then do one side and then the other side one at a time. So I did that, and then for the neckline, the pattern originally calls for about a ½ an inch of ribbing. And when I did the version that I did for Avery, I found I had trouble, and it might just be me because a lot of people have made this pattern, but I had trouble getting it so that it would give enough stretch. And even though I've done the back placket, I just wanted to make sure. So instead of doing the ½ inch of ribbing, I picked up along the neckline, and then I knit a row, and then I cast off using the kind of stretchy cast off where you knit one stitch and then put that stitch back on your left needle and then knit two through the back loop and then put that stitch back on and kind of repeat over and over again. I find that that cast off gives a really, really nice edge, especially when you're doing garter stitch, but it kind of gives a nicer finish than just if I had done a regular cast off. So I decided to do that cast off so that the neckline would be a little more roomy. And then I started the sleeve. And you can see the sleeve here. I've got my striping going. I'm using Knit Picks Hawthorn Speckle for the body, and then Knit Picks Felici for the sleeves. And I picked this color because I thought it picked up enough of the colors in the main body that it would coordinate. I kind of wish that the darker speckles that you can see in here are more of a teal, and I kind of wish they were more of a blue just so that it would coordinate a little bit more. But overall, I'm pretty happy with how that looks. I think it's going to look really cute. But yeah, I've started the sleeve, and this is the most fun part of this pattern. So if I get some good knitting time this coming week, like after the show is done, if I get some good blocks of time, I might be able to finish these sleeves because the needles are a little bigger than your standard sock size needles. And so I think it's going to go by really fast. And I'll just say one more thing about the arms. So you might notice, see all these kind of stitches showing there. That looks a little off right now, but that's because Stephanie, the designer, has you do this special step before you start the sleeves so that when you're done and you complete that step, you get a really, really beautiful edge here. So I think what I'm going to do is when I do the other sleeve, when I show you the finished object, I'm going to leave one sleeve where I don't do that final step, and then the other sleeve I will do the final step so that you can see the difference, and then obviously after I'll do it on the other sleeve. But I want you to be able to see how nice this will look after I do that second step that she gives. So yeah, those are the sleeves. This is the body. I will just mention something about the sizing. I don't know what I was thinking. I initially intended on casting on a size 4 for her. She's 3 years old, and I made a size 4 for Avery, and she's 6, and it still fits her really, really well. So I was planning on doing a size 4 for my friend's daughter. Maybe adding a little extra length, but for the most part, a size 4. And then I was working on the body, and I got up to where you start doing the armhole, so you split for the front and back. And I was doing the split, and I could not get my stitches to work out, and I couldn't figure out why. And finally, I counted the amount of stitches that I had on my needles, and I cast on for like a size 2 or 3. And I was like, well, poop. I was like, I don't want to rip out this whole body that I did just because, you know, I cast on the wrong amount. So I measured the width just to see what kind of chest measurement I was going to get, and I decided it should be fine. You know, her daughter is very much like Avery, where she doesn't need as much room this way as this way. She's very slim, so I think it's going to be okay, and I'm just going to keep going, and I think it'll be fine. I did add some extra length, so the length shouldn't be a problem, and the head shouldn't be a problem. So hopefully the width won't be a problem either. I need to get Avery to try it on just to make sure, but I don't think it will be a problem. So hopefully next week I'll either have some really, really good progress on this, or maybe I'll be done this too. I don't know. We'll see. So I'm going to put that aside, and then next project. So this one I haven't cast on yet, but I did mention this last week when I was when I showed the picture that was kind of sharing my goals for May, you know, what I wanted to finish that I already started, what I wanted to cast on, you know, by the end of May, what I wanted to accomplish. And one of the projects on there was to cast on a sweater and finish it in like 2 weeks. I have been wanting to make this sweater for a long time. It's called Mae, and it's by Andrea Mowry. And I've been wanting to make it forever, and I've been wanting to do a faded version. And I want to finish it by the end of May, but I had the Frolic in April, and then I have the trunk show this weekend, and so I just didn't want to cast it on until at least the bulk of my work was over. So after the trunk show this weekend, I am casting on this project. I have decided to do a faded version, and what I love about the whole fade thing, like I know the fade thing has been huge over the last year and a half, and some people are just getting totally sick of the fade, but what I love about it is that it allows you to take all these single skeins from your stash that you might not have a reason to use at this time, and it allows you to put it into one project and just get to use that stash, and you end up with one big wearable garment. So I've decided to do that, and I've taken these skeins from my stash, and I think that they are going to work really nice together for a fade. The Mae is written so you're working from the bottom up, so I'm going to start with this darkest color down here for the hem and work up to this color for the neckline. And I think this will work okay because the Mae is written without really any sleeves, so I don't have to worry about how I'm going to fade the sleeves, or how much yarn I have to put aside for the sleeves. It's basically just the body. So once I figure out the length I want, and how many rows is how many inches and blah blah blah, I can kind of get an idea of how long I can make each transition. How I'm going to fade these are all fingering weight skeins, and the pattern calls for worsted weight yarn. So I am going to be doubling the yarn, and I'm going to start with the darkest color and hold 2 strands of that one color together. And then when I'm ready to transition to the next color, I'm going to hold 1 strand of that first color and 1 strand of this next color, hold those together and knit for X number of inches. And then I will go to holding 2 strands of that second color together for so many inches, and then so forth, fading the colors. In theory, in my brain, it will work. Hopefully it will. One of the reasons actually 2 reasons, that I really want to do this sweater in May is because there are 2 podcasts that are doing knit-alongs that this project would fit into, and I really, really want to enter them. The first is a new podcast that I started watching just recently, and the podcast is called Braid and Tinker, and it's hosted by Melanie, who lives in the Netherlands, and she is doing It's Gonna Be Mae along. And so basically, if you're making the Mae, you can enter it in this KAL. Everybody who's joining is making this same sweater. And then the other knit along is from the Codependent knitters, and they are doing a knit along called Be a Fade. And basically, any pattern where you're fading your colors can apply to this knit along. And so I thought, perfect, if I can finish this in May, I can put it in the It's Gonna Be Mae along, because it ends at the end of May. And then I can also put it into the Be a Fade along because it goes to August. So at least I'll get one, but I'm hoping for both. So once my show is over, and probably Sunday night, I am going, maybe even Saturday night, we'll see. I might treat myself on Saturday night, because I might just set myself aside and just cast on this sweater. But I'm going to try and get this done in 2.5 weeks or so, by the end of May. So we'll see. Cheer me on. We'll see if we can do it. So that is that project. The only thing I have left is the collection from last week that you chose, and I showed you 2 fabrics. There was a cat fabric and a dog fabric, and I thought it might be a little bit of a battle. And when I went on Mondays, so Monday is when I do all my prep for the week, and on Monday it was a tie. So the same amount of people had requested both the dog and the cat. So I decided to do a little bit of both. Now, I think at this point the dogs have edged out the cats, but we're going to call it a tie because when I got things ready, it was a tie. So I have done 3 bags each of the 2 designs. So I did 3 dog bags and 3 cat bags, and I think they turned out really, really cute. So this is the dog bag here. You can see with the little puppy fabric. Oh, I think this turned out really, really nice. So I have 3 of these. Now I will say that the 3 bags will, they'll each have a different color zipper. I think there's a red zipper, a black zipper, and a white zipper, I think. So the zipper color will vary, but otherwise the print and the accent will be the same as you see here. So this is the dog bag, and then this is the cat bag. And so it's almost the same colors, it's just a different print. So same with the cat bag. I think I have different zippers, but otherwise it will look mostly like this. The print placement obviously will vary as well. So these are the bags. And then for the yarn, I finally got a yarn shipment in this week, so I was able to do some sock blanks again and some sock sets, and I think the sock blanks turned out really, really cool. So this is the first one here. So I did kind of the pale aqua, and then there's all these reds and grays, and then there's these little areas with the brown. I love those little areas. I think those turned out really, really cool. So that's the first one. And then the second sock blank turned out a little bit differently, so I'll show that one too. This is the second one. The aqua is a little brighter in this one, and there's also a whole bunch of red on this side. So those are the sock blanks. And then I did 2 sock sets as well. And here's the sock set. So I did a little bit of a brighter aqua on the sock sets because I love like aqua or turquoise with red. I love that combination. So the aqua's a little brighter, but then there's still the red and brown and gray little blips in there. And then there's a red mini. So I did 2 of these. And then, so that's the collection for this week, and then I have your fabrics to vote on for next week. So after the frolic, that was about 2 weeks ago, I did a huge fabric order because I had to restock my supplies. And in that fabric, there was a few that I saw where I knew I had some accent fabric that I thought would go really, really well for the bottoms of the bags. So these are your choices this week. The first one is this bird print here. It's kind of got a mint background with olives and plum accents, but I had this fabric in my stash that I thought would be a really, really pretty accent to that. So that's your first choice, birds. And then the second choice is I got these cute seahorses, so pink and turquoise seahorses. And then I have this coral fabric. And I thought those would be really, really, really cute together for another collection. So that is your second choice for this week. So seahorses or birds, let me know below what you think I should do. And then also, because I did get a whole bunch of yarn this week, let me know if you would like to see sock blanks or sock sets or like 100-gram sock weight yarn. What kind of yarn should I do for this collection? And so yeah, vote below, let me know. And I think that is it for this week. That's all the projects I've been working on. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you've been having lots of knitting time yourself and you get to make all the things this week. And I will talk to you soon. Bye.